Okay, Chevra, thank you so much for joining us. B'siyata d'shmaya, we're going to begin today's shiur on parshas Matos-Masai with Hashem's help. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to join me in exploring the teachings of the tzaddikim. We're going to learn from the Ishbitzer, from the Mei HaShiloach, as well as from the Degel Machaneh Ephraim, the tzaddik, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, about the way that they learned up certain psukim, certain verses, and certain episodes within our parsha with Hashem's help. And I just want to thank you guys all. The feedback on the LPI groups, on the LPI broadcast list from the past couple of days, the content has been unbelievable. And it gives me tremendous chizuk to know that we're in this together. This is a movement. This is an organization that's attempting to frame something that's very, very real in our generation in terms of the thirst that all of us feel for something different. We're ready to move beyond. I was telling everybody with Corona, people were talking about going back to normal. And the answer is we have to go back, but not back to normal, right? We have to go forward to a brand new reality. We have to go ahead and make sure that we're not simply slinking back into the reality that was, but rather that we're doing something else. We're starting something new. And with Hashem's help, I don't think that it's coincidence. Nothing's coincidence. But certainly that such a thing has begun to sprout, that such a tremendous tree has begun to flourish, the Lost Princess Initiative, at this time to bring together so many neshamas that are giving over Torah for our generation, a Torah for the soul of our youth, a Torah for the soul of the young of all ages among us, those that still feel that there's something to search for, that mashu chaserli, that something's missing. This is what we're here to try to fill, and we're going to try with Hashem's help over the coming weeks and months with everything that we're doing. And like I keep on saying, it's just the very beginning. We have so much more planned, and I hope that you'll stick with us and hold on tight as we take this journey together. But with Hashem's help, we're going to try to move the ball forward. This ball that started rolling 200 years ago, we're going to try to grab hold of that door that's begun to open, to let the light of Mashiach in, and to continue to pull it further and further open so that that light can shine and illuminate a very dark and difficult world, and a very dark and difficult circumstance that all of us are experiencing, each and every person within their own matziv. It's hard and it's tough, and we need the light of the tzaddikim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hiktim refuah lamaka, like Chazal say. God, so to speak, sent the remedy before the malady. Like my Rebbe, Rabbi Weinberger Shlita, who's the rabbinical advisor of the LPI, likes to say all the time. He says so many of the issues that we're facing today as a community that we perceive to be independent problems and independent maladies and sicknesses that the frum world and whatever part of the spectrum one finds oneself, but we're all struggling communally with certain issues that are across the board. Rabbi Weinberger says they're all symptoms of one major primary issue. And in the terms of our little project and our little experiment, it's called the loss of the princess. And the princess, of course, Eretz Hashem, as you'll learn when the book Be'ezer Hashem comes out and the website's launched, and there's incredible resources that are just waiting to be explored. I can't wait to share it all with you, with Hashem's help. But that princess represents the soul. That princess represents inwardness, feeling, a sense of being connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and putting him, so to speak, front and center of Yiddishkeit, to return back to the very, very basic essence of everything that we're doing, that we're trying to go ahead and live a Yiddishkeit that's not fragmented into different mitzvos and into different elements and different avodas and different things, and everything is all over the place. We're trying to encounter that center point from which everything else extends, that center point of feeling and of emotion and of passion and of yearning and longing and a feeling and a spirit, like I posted earlier today, of engagement beyond the marriage. We're all married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We all entered in, so to speak, to this contract. We had ksuba, we signed something, we're in it to win it, and we feel that obligation, so to speak, is on our shoulders, and we go ahead and we try our best. But the question is, do we have that feeling that a couple has before they get married, in that period before they're mamish living together, when they're engaged, when they know that they belong to one another, but they're not yet able to go ahead and to live together? That feeling of engagement is the soul of marriage. And if people get married and lose that spirit of engagement, the main thing is missing. The main thing is missing. The tzaddikim taught us how to yearn for that which we already have. And that's what we're trying to foster the Ezer Hashem at the Lost Princess Initiative, to be married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but to somehow tap into a spirit of engagement, to a spirit of yearning, to a spirit of ratzon. I want this. This is my whole life. And Yiddishkeit is not just limited to the shul and to the Beis Knesses and to the Beis Medrash and to the kollel, wherever I'm learning, wherever I'm engaging, focused on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but Yiddishkeit extends to every single aspect of my life. I can't breathe without Hashem. I can't chill with friends without Hashem. I can't be creative without Hashem. I can't eat or sleep without Hashem. Every single aspect of my life is permeated with a relationship. That it's not simply that we're married and it's something stale for 80 years, we're together and we take out the garbage and she makes the dinner, v'chule. It's bursting with a spirit of ratzon, of engagement, of yearning, of longing every minute to say, Master of the world, I'm in a conscious relationship with you. I can speak to you. You're my beloved. That's what we're trying to accomplish, and we can only do it with each and every one of you. And I beg you all to spread the word, to share, to tell people what's going on, because mamish, we're just beginning, and I believe that we tapped into something very unique and very special, something that the tzaddikim have been waiting hundreds of years for right now, for our generation, to stand up. Sometimes we look in the mirror and we think we're so low and we're so broken. Anachnu dar mitzuyan, chevra. We are an amazing, a wondrous generation. We have to realize what opportunity we have to make a grassroots movement from the bottom up and to really take stock of the opportunity we have as a generation to do something unprecedented. And we can do it together. We can do it with the tzaddikim. We can do it only b'siyata d'shmaya and b'shem Hashem nasev and atzliach. And so I thank you for joining me. And be'ezer Hashem, like I mentioned before, we're just beginning. And so hold on tight, because it's going to get mamish more and more beautiful, more and more special as we go ahead. So I'm going to share my screen now so we can see the source sheets together. Let me just try to do this. Okay. Yeah, the chaver can see it. Ami, how are we doing? A thumbs up from Ami. Okay, we're doing good. Ami, it's so good to see you. Okay, so here we begin with the Mei HaShiloach and parshas Matos-Masai. As we stand, really, in a certain sense, we stand at the end of the Torah, really, right? Because Sefer Devarim largely is a reiteration of all the different elements of everything that happened. It's called Mishnah Torah. It's a separate inyan. Over here we stand by the Yarden, about to enter into the Holy Land, and it's time that we take stock of realizing, what did we learn throughout the year? Like all the Chabad tzaddikim used to say in Yiddish, medaf leben mit the parshas. You have to live with the parshas, not just something that we read and we hear in shul. You have to live with it, and this really speaks to the point that we made before about Yiddishkeit being something that we perceive to be our life force. It's something beautiful. It's something wondrous and special and exciting. It really genuinely is. It genuinely is, and we can feel that. And we do at times feel that, and we have felt that in the past as children. We can tap back into that. What did we learn? Here I want to present you with what I believe are some of the deepest lessons that the Torah has been teaching us and reviewing again and again and again and again, from Bereshis, Shemos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, all the way through until parshas Matos-Masai, that the tzaddikim speak about mamish on this week's parsha, that are so important and so fundamental and so deep that we need a lot of siyata d'shmaya as always. Chevra, mamish, I want you to know that I cannot do this on my own. Every word that I speak is only because we're together, that these neshamas are sitting together to learn from the tzaddikim. Let's focus on the words. Let's focus on the tzaddik. Let's focus on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who we're trying to get close to, and together we can accomplish something. I believe it, mamish. Okay, so let's dive in. Says the Heilige Mei HaShiloach, Chussi Agon Aleinu, the Ishbitzer Rebbe, the founder of the Ishbitz dynasty. Vayomru imatzanu chen be'inecha yitein es ha'aretz hazois lavadecha la'achuza. The leaders of the Shvatim, this is Bnei Gad, yes, the leaders of Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain are standing in front of Moshe and asking for a separate portion. That all of Am Yisrael is going to spread out throughout the land as Yoshua, Be'ezer Hashem, Sefer Yoshua, is going to lead them into Eretz Yisrael. And Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain are asking for a portion me'ever liyarden, on the other portion that they perceive to be fertile land. This is a land that they've set their eyes on, and they ask Moshe to be able to be given this land. Says the Ishbitzer, Bazeha inyin nirmaz. Listen to this, Chevra. In this sugya. It's a very strange and interesting portion of the Torah where Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven actually accomplish what it is that they set out to do. B'zeh inyan nirmaz. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking to each and every one of us through these psukim and teaching. That if a person will go ahead and will sanctify his place, and it doesn't just mean a physical place, an emotional place, a theological place, a circumstance in life, a place. And that means that the person is living life wherever one finds oneself. A person is living in accordance with the will of God. And a person is always living in tandem and in connection with the desire, so to speak, and the ratzon of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Not just for pratius. It doesn't just mean a person putting on tefillin and shaking a lulav and eating matzah on Pesach and drinking on Purim. All those things, of course it means that. But it means living not just the halacha, but like Rebbe Nachman teaches us in Torah Vav in the 6th lesson of Likutei Moharan, al tikri halacha, rather, ela halicha, right? A paraphrase and a switch around of Chazal's statement to walk with a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Halacha is halicha. That every single second I need to be asking myself, what's Ratzon Hashem? What does the Kadosh Baruch Hu want from me in this moment? Am I conscious of Him? Does He permeate this experience? Does He fill this place? A person who's living bedalid amos shel halach. Says the Heilige Mei HaShiloach, chal kedushas Eretz Yisrael al zeh hamakom. When a person is living in accordance with the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as best as he or she can, that place physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, theologically, circumstantially, that place becomes sanctified with the actual holiness of Eretz Yisrael, with the actual sanctity of the Holy Land, of the Promised Land. That they asked for this portion, Me'ever Yarden, that it wasn't actually mamish in Eretz Yisrael, that God promised to Avram Avinu. It wasn't mamish in that place. Even though the Ishbitzer says that this actual physical location was not included in Eretz Yisrael proper, within the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu had promised to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and constantly spoke about throughout Am Yisrael's journey out of Mitzrayim and ultimately to this promised land. It was outside. Mikol Makayim, even so, Hiskem Hashem Yisbarach, the master of the world, was maskim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu put his haskama, sheyachal kedushas Eretz Yisrael sham, that because they're living in this place in tandem with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they came to ask Das Torah from Moshe, and they came to inquire from him, can you go ahead and check by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is this something that God wants? Outside of the Gvul of Eretz Yisrael, in a b'di'evet situation, l'cha'era, right? What seems to be b'di'evet, what seems to be an anomaly, a strange thing, that all of Am Yisrael are one side, and here we find ourselves in no man's land, me'evel yarden, alone. Can you check with the Kadosh Baruch Hu that this is justified? Can you check with Him that this is validated? And the second the answer comes back, yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts His stamp of approval on this, guess what? It's no longer a b'di'evet. And it's no longer chol, it's no longer mundane, and it's no longer secondary, and it's no longer something that we have to regret, and it's no longer something that we have to bemoan. It immediately becomes filled and permeated and imbued with the spirit of Eretz Yisrael itself, that place where we are. L'chol mitzvahs hatluyos bar. It's not just, he says, not just a nice Torah, it's not just a nice var. Actually, practically, all of the halachas, shmita and shrumas and meisers and all the halachas that are talui in Eretz Yisrael, in the physical earth, in the soil, in the land of this holy place, applies, me'evel yarden, applies to this place of the Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven. An amazing thing. And he says, the same is true for every place. And again, by place, we don't just mean physically, but we mean any portion of a life that we feel our consciousness to be taking up, that we feel that we are occupying, on whatever level we're living, every place. Every place that a Jew goes ahead and consciously says, I'm sanctifying this situation. Is it a b'di'evet? We'll find out. It appears to be like a b'diavad. There's Corona. All of us have to leave Eretz Yisrael from our yeshivas. All of us have to go ahead, mamish Eretz Yisrael, b'diuk, the land itself. The seminaries are closing down. Everybody has to go back. It's a b'diavad legamri. This is not what we expected. This is not what we signed up for. This is not what we were looking toward. But the question is, can you make that a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light to dwell? Can you find a way somehow to say, Rabbanah Shalom, it may seem to be a b'diavad on the surface, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to make the best of it. And I'm going to try to live and not to give up and not to become complacent and not to let go, but I'm going to continue to search for the princess. I'm going to continue to try every single morning that I wake up to say, how can I add on more innocence? How can I add on more feeling? How can I add on more sincerity? How can I be kinder, gentler, sweeter? How can I make the world a better place? How can I think of others? How can I think of the ultimate other with a capital O, the Rebbe Nachman? Says the Mei HaShiloach, v'chein b'chol makom sheyakdish ha'adam mekayim l'shem Hashem, hu kadosh b'kedushas Eretz Yisrael. You have to realize that your house in Queens or Brooklyn or wherever you are tuning in from the world, that place can actually be permeated. It's not, again, he's not saying that it's a nice, sweet thing to think about. It mamish. We see from Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven that it was chayiv in mitzvahs hatluyas ba'aretz. It actually becomes sanctified with the holiness of Eretz Yisrael itself. You think you left. You never left. You never ever left. You can make your place, your physical house, your difficult family circumstance and situation, your emotional struggles, your traumas of the past, all the makomos, all of the places that you occupy, you can turn that into a palace and to a dwelling place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't just visit from time to time, where Yishkan Hashem Yisbarach b'kfiyas, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually goes ahead and moves in with you. Mamash moves in with you. And it becomes a place that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was constantly looking toward and yearning for and thinking about. Like we find in the Gemara in Brachas, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves, so to speak, the sha'arim hamutzuyanim ba'alacha comes from a pasuk, Oyev Hashem es shari tzion mikol mishkanos Yerushalayim, I believe the pasuk is, or something to that effect, but Chazal tell us that means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the gates which are expert in halacha more than any other gates of learning, more than any other gates of tefillah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking for that kind of learning. That's what's called la'asuke shmaitza, to learn the Gemara and the Rishonim and Achronim aliba de hilchasa, to be able to make it aliba de hilchasa. But he makes a little bit of a diuk in the pasuk that sha'ar mamatsuyanim b'halacha, like we learned, means halicha, to walk with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be conscious of His love, to be conscious of the relationship that we have with Him. We're only in this world for a short period of time. We think we're here forever. Chevra, we should all live long and happy and healthy till 120. Be'ezer Hashem, we should only know goodness, revealed goodness, begashmias baruchnias, forever and ever, for us and all of our families. But we have to realize that life is a gift. Life is mamish, a gift, the greatest gift, and therefore it's the greatest opportunity, and therefore it's the greatest obligation to do something, mamish, to do something, to make a storm. So much we spend time thinking about what do I have to share with the world? What can I do? What can I accomplish? And we have self-doubt, and we have self-loathing and self-shame, and we have to understand we're wasting precious time. Rebbe Nachman taught us, in Yiddish, mitar nicht übertrachten. Don't overthink. Don't overthink, because the more you overthink and you think you're being a chacham, and I think that I'm being a chacham when I sit and I contemplate and I'm thinking, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? And I stand, those chaver, they come to learn in a beis medrash for a half hour. They spend 28 minutes in front of the bookshelf. Should I learn this thing? Should I learn this sefer? Should I learn? Rebbe Nachman taught us, mitar nicht übertrachten. Mitar trachten. I don't know how to say it. How do we say it? Chaim knows how to speak Yiddish here. We have to, medaf, right? Medaf trachten. You have to think of mitar nicht übertrachten. Right? I got it right, Chaim? Okay, so medaf trachten, mitar nicht übertrachten. You can't overthink. You have to think. Don't overthink. Each and every one of us is packed with awesome potential. Unbelievable potential that we can't imagine. I once went to a concert by a performer. I'm sure you heard of Yishai Ribo. Right? All of us have heard of Yishai Ribo. What an neshama. What he's doing for Am Yisrael. It's unimaginable. So I once went to a concert with my wife. We took a night off. We went out. And here you have one human being. It's just flesh and blood. Some of you might be convinced otherwise. He's just flesh and blood. And he's standing on a stage in front of, I don't know how many thousands of people. Thousands and thousands of people. And anybody knows the diversity of the crowd that he appeals to is phenomenal. You have Charedim from, Mei HaShiloach, and you have Chilonim from Tel Aviv, and everybody's sitting together, and it's remarkable atmosphere. And you have one human being, one flesh and blood. And he stands up there and he makes a bracha. And the amen that thunders, that shakes Yerushalayim, that shakes the world, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. And here I am sitting in the crowd, one speck in a gigantic ocean, right? And one speck on the whole beach of people. And I'm thinking to myself, and I hope this is not egotistical to think, I think each of us should be thinking this, is my bracha not worth the power that emanated from this person's mouth? Just a human being. I'm also just a human being. All of us are just human beings. We may not feel like we have the platform that a Yishai Ribo has, but each and every one of us need to believe that every bracha that comes out of our mouth should be the most exciting, the most wondrous, the most phenomenal thing, that we should have 10,000 people looking at us and waiting for every other word that comes out of our mouth, each of us. So we don't have the illusion. Maybe it's not an illusion, but we don't have the illusion that people depend on us, that people think that what we do is valuable. But beyond the illusion of not thinking that, because that's an illusion that we don't think that, is a crowd of 20,000 malachim, 30,000 infinite malachim that are sitting there all together, diverse, and they do nothing else. They find nothing else more entertaining, is a lowly word to use. It's not the right mashal. They find nothing else more exhilarating than to hang on to every word of kedusha, to every machshava tova, to every dibur tov, to every positive action, and to lift it up to the master of the world. We have to believe that each and every one of us is enormously powerful, and life is so short. So metarnish betrachten, and we have to do something. And so instead of spending so much time thinking, what can I do? And I'm crippled because of this, that, and the other thing. When one Rebbe said this to me, and this one did that to me, and my father and my mother, and we spend years and years and we're wasting precious time. It's not an immaturity to move on. It's not naive, and we're not working out our problems. Of course, each person, each situation needs to be dealt with, right? There are certain severe cases, and all of us know what our situation is. But we're talking for the norm, for the standard. It's so liberating to stand up and, like Rebbe Nachman said, ha'avar ayin, what was is gone. Umei achshav. And from now, from this moment on, like Chazal tell us, Ein va'ata ela lashon tshuva. Every time we see the word va'ata, and now in the Torah, it means tshuva. Something new is starting. Va'ata, ume'ata. And from now, I can start a revolution. I can bring the whole world back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Me, little me. I can make a difference. I can sanctify every b'diavad in my life to the lichatchila of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ultimate love. And ultimate closeness. Our b'diavad, like I say sometimes, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's lichatchila. I'll say that again. Our b'diavads in life, in retrospect, not that we go into b'diavad situations, but from this moment, looking back in time, everything that happened to us that we perceive to be a b'diavad, even mistakes that we made, things that we were posheya, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's lichatchila. From that aspect, from a very lofty level of Hanagas HaYichud and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, that place of Arik Anpin, of absolute, perfect, no din, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Magin Mirashis Achris, without getting to the whole Sugya of Yedi and Bechira, you'll have to buy the book on the story of our lives, Be'ezer Hashem, chapter 16 and 17, go through the whole Sugya, Mitchila V'ad Sof, to understand how to utilize these truths in a healthy way, and now not to become ta'ut, not to make a mistake, not to the right or to the left, but to know how to use it healthily. But from the moment looking backwards, in retrospect, every b'diavad is Hashem's l'chatchila. Every b'diavad is an Eiver HaYarden that if I choose correctly from this moment onward, I can sanctify with kedushas ha'aretz, with the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, mamish, not just a nice thing, mamish Eretz Yisrael. Every broken relationship, every broken dream for the future, every brokenness of trauma and difficulty that we struggled in the past can become sanctified with kedushas Eretz Yisrael. The question is, what am I doing with that makom now? Hashem gave us each a makom, all of us. Kishem, like Chazal say, Kishem shepartzu feim einam shaynim, just like their faces are not, are shaynim, are different from one another. Kach deyaseyim einam shavas. So too their perspective and their consciousness and their way of living life and their perch, so to speak, from which they look at everything, all of Yiddishkeit and all of life and everything in the world is different, is unique, is special. We all have our makom. We all have our daled amis. And guess what? After 120, we'll weiter have our little daled amis in the kever. And it's not unlike what we do when we're living. It's not unlike that. The Kotzker said, it's sharp, but this is what he said. He said all of life is just a preparation for dying. Right, in a certain crazy way, if you think about it, right? If Olam Haba is the tachlis, and like Chazal say in Pirkei Avos, we're in the prasdar, we're only, so to speak, in this small little hallway, and this is not the ikr. Let's not get confused and get distracted. That's not the main thing. Always look toward the tachlis, but it's a preparation for that time. So why can't we already begin living with that sense of individuality, with that sense of uniqueness, that little dalad amish shal halacha, shal halicha that all of us have to transform for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this Evra Yarden, this b'diavad, this lowliness, to lift it up, and to open our hearts, and to open our minds, and to open ourselves to become transparent to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We spend so much time putting up walls. Some of the Mevaseret Chevra will remember we spoke about this, we spent time with this, right? We spend so much time putting on walls in front of others and in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no need. There's pashut no need. If there's one being, and if there's one relationship in which we ought to be utterly transparent, it's before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who knows everything anyway, and who loves us regardless, and don't listen to anybody who will tell you otherwise. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. He loves us infinitely, and He cares for us, and we're precious to Him. And anybody else who takes a leadership role in any capacity and breaks Jewish hearts by telling them that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not love them, and focuses so much on Gehenna and so much on these things which are genuine aspects and elements of the tradition when understood in the proper context and framework, and breaks Jews even more than they're broken, and is mekatrig on Jews, certainly not willingly, but is mekatrig on Jews by speaking about sins and by speaking about negativity instead of lifting people up, and instead of telling people that they're holy and how much power they have. They're setting Yiddishkeit back 500 years. Mashuhu acher karapo. Something new is happening, chevra. There's a new light in the world. There's something shining, and all of us who are on this call feel it. We know it. We feel it with every particle of our being. There's something else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals new elements of Torah. It's not a chadash asim and a Torah. It's not something new. It's something very, very old that we forgot along the way. It's the lost princess. There's a new way. There's a new derech. Rebbe Nachman revealed in the metaphor of the story of Shvil Menatzad. It's a new path. It's a new way. And we're being called upon to take it. And we're being called upon to move things forward toward Mashiach. B'sifra da, says the Zohar Kadosh. With this sefer, with the Zohar Kadosh, with Panimius HaTorah, with an inward perspective on Yiddishkeit, on ourselves, on others, on life b'chlal. Yafkan bein min galusa, you will leave exile b'rachameh, with rachmanas. Without an apocalypse. And without imagery of fires and atom bombs and nuclear weapons. Birachame, with Rachmanis. Walking into HaKadosh Baruch Hu's embrace, chevra. And this is not some fluffy, sweet hippie talk. This is what the tzaddikim promise. B'sifra da yafkin bein galusa birachame. These tzaddikim, the kedushas ladies, chus yagon aleinu. Rebbe Nachman, the Alter Rebbe, the Kuznetzer, the Chayzim Lublin. These tzaddikim, they only saw light, and not because they were naive, because they looked at life from an elevated perspective. They looked at life through the sunglasses of these higher levels, of a deeper understanding of what it means to be a Jew, of a deeper understanding of what it means to have that relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. They knew which chazals to teach at the right time. Chazal is very broad. You could find almost anything you want in chazal. You understand that? You can make a whole new religion, nitpicking with chazals. The tzaddikim knew how to filter, so to speak, certain ideas and how to present the mitzvos and how to present the consciousness that's necessary for every generation. And this is what we need. This is mamish what we need, and we have to do our part. You cannot fight darkness with darkness, chevra. This is the basics of Hasidus, the basics of Pnimius. You have to fight darkness only with light. And that means increasing the intensity with which we engage in Pnimius HaTorah. No matter what kind of Pnimius HaTorah, I don't say it has to only be Hasidus. I'm a huge fan, as you guys know, of Nefesh HaChaim. Whatever speaks to you, Reb Dessler, of Hutner, everything in between, whatever you want. But to be able to start looking at Yiddishkeit with new eyes, with deeper eyes. Eini Hashem al tzaddikim, with the eyes of the righteous. So that we move the ball forward. So that we illuminate our lives and the light and the lives of those around us. This is what we're being called upon to do. And mamish, we have to feel that it's an actual obligation on us. Because not many people, how many people on this call? 20 people? How many people are on this call? This is it. This is who God has. This is who HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending His message to. This is the neshamas that are still feeling, that are still alive. We are being tasked with the obligation of taking this message and bringing it to the world. Each and every one of us in our own way. It's a chiyuv, it's a must. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is waiting for us. He's yearning for us and He needs us. Kiviyachol. Can we transform our makom into a place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? From the time that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, it's an open chazal. That's, so to speak, a chiluv, so to speak, an exchange, so to speak, a substitute, but it's not a substitute as b'diavad. It's a chatchila substitute. An exchange for the Beis Hamikdash is the daled amin shel halacha, the daled amin shel halicha, of focusing on the Ratzon Hashem. In the Shasam mitzvahs lois hasei, the Ramach mitzvahs hasei, every sifkat in the Mishnah Brura, halacha, mamish k'mashmai, bursting with intention, bursting with love, bursting with feeling, but also all the gray areas in between. That's my priority. That's what I'm focused on. That's what we call the house of my Yiddishkeit, not the hotel. It's not something that's just something on the side. It's where I live. It's where I live. It's where when I take 3 steps off of this path, I know I have to go home. I don't just go to another hotel. I need to go home. This is my home. This is my home. This is where I live. That's the first lesson. We could talk about this for the rest of the time, and I'm sure way, way well past that. But let's move on. Doesn't look like we're going to get to the Rami L'Melech, but let's see to the Degel. Unless we should do the Degel. Give me 1 second. You know, this is related. Let's see the Degel. Be'ez Hashem, next year we'll see the Mei HaShiloach together in person in Yerushalayim. Be'ez Hashem. So let's go to the Degel Machaneh Ephraim and let's try to knock this home with the time that we have left. Hecholtzumi itchem anashim letzava v'yitzba midyan lasis nikmas Hashem b'midyan. There was a gorel, right, that was cast to be able to choose warriors to go ahead and to fight. Lasis nikmas Hashem b'midyan, to go ahead and to provide the retribution of a Kadosh Baruch Hu on Midyan, on the Midianites. Yesh leimar b'zeh b'derech remez, says the Degel. He says, I want to teach you the deeper understanding of the pasuk b'derech remez. Al derech sheshamati mimechutani, that which I heard from my mechutin harav havasik hamanoyach marenu, Rebbe Nachman Haradenker, Rebbe Nachman's grandfather. So Rebbe Nachman married Adol. Together they had a daughter, Fega. Fega married Simcha, and together they had Rebbe Nachman. Rebbe Nachman's uncle, the brother of Fega, was the Heilige Degel Machaneh Ephraim, Rebbe Moshe Chaim Ephraim Sadlikov, of Sadlikov, and his brother Baruch Meshbitzer were Rebbe Nachman's uncles. And so this is his mechutin. This is, right? His relative through marriage. Mareinu Rebbe Nachman Haradenker Zal. Al pasuk v'ishla yale imach mechol harahu. That Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the mountain and HaKadosh Baruch Hu warns, let no other person ascend the mountain aside from you. Listen to these words. Daled Amma Shal Halacha. Hainu kishadam roitz alav Hashem be'emes u'b'tmimas. When a Jew wants to serve God, be'emes u'b'tmimos, not because his parents want him to, not because his mashgiach is going to pour water on him or something if he doesn't, not because he feels compelled to societally, but be'emes u'b'tmimos, when he realizes that it's just my life. Like the Piasetzner Rebbe spent so much time talking about in the beginning of Chavos HaTalmidim, we are our own educators. We can't rely on anyone else. In this generation, certainly it's on us. Our lives are at stake. It's our obligation to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The emes of tmimus, I want to be sincere. I want to feel it. I know that the world is full of emptiness and full of sheker and full of shallowness and lies and stupidity and pettiness. I want to connect to something real. The emes of tmimus, to be transparent before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the prerequisite? What's the premise? What's the necessity? Is for a person to go ahead and to look in himself in the mirror as yechidi ba'olam, as being utterly and absolutely unique. Shum panim mishum adam. Shum paniya rather, mishum adam. And a person shouldn't be choshesh min olam, like we talked about. A person shouldn't be thinking, what does this one think of me? What's that one going to say? If you know something is emes lamita, you feel it within you, it works for you, it's bringing you close to Hashem, it's your unique derech, and it's something holy, and it's something that's established and rooted in the tradition from our Sinai. So you don't listen to anybody in the whole entire world. Doesn't matter how old they are and how white their beard is. It makes no difference. You stand strong and don't allow yourself to be pushed backward no matter what. No matter what. And not to do things in a positive sense because of ulterior motive to impress people. But to be alone. To say this is my journey. To say this is my prerogative. This is my mission. And this, he says, also is pshat in that pasuk, right? So that's how he's learning the pasuk. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, you want to go ahead and be mekabel the Torah. You want to go ahead up the mountain to trigger and to activate the beginning of Matan Torah, of Maimed Har Sinai. V'ish lo yali imach b'chol ha'ar. You make sure that nobody else is walking with you. You're alone. You're alone. You're with every single member of Am Yisrael. L'shem yichud kutzbrichu shchinte, b'shem kol Yisrael. For sure. You're going ahead and you're connecting to the shorish of all of Am Yisrael that manifests in every single one of the 600,000 root souls and the millions of Jews without a question. Without question. But in my avoda, it's yashar to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with no stops in between. It's me and him. We're in the cheder yichud. We're together. You have to come by yourself up the mountain. And he says this is also pshat in the pasuk. The same thing. The Kohen Gadol walks into the Kodesh HaKadoshim alone. Alone. All the other avodah, he's surrounded by the Leviim and the Kehanim and everything that's going on in the Beis HaMikdash. When it comes time to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of your life, when it comes time to go into the Holy of Holiest, to that ultimate point of sanctity, to that ultimate point of sincerity and of transparency and of oneness with the Master of the world, to be, so to speak, Moser Nefesh, to give ourselves up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to say, Ribbana Shalom, please, I'm begging you, take me to be your beloved. Will you marry me, Ribbana Shalom? When it comes time for that moment under the chuppah, you better make sure that there's nobody standing with you. The parents walk you up there, but tachlis, when you stand up there, it's you and your beloved. It's us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Alone. In the Holy of Holiest. And listen to what he does with his Maimar Chazal. It's phenomenal. Chazal tell us b'makom she'ein ish hishtad aliyas ish, which on a pashut level means, all of us know, right? And this also ties into what we're talking about the need to feel this obligation to spread the word and to spread the light of Pnimius. In this generation, it's mamish. It's the Torah of Mashiach. On a pashut level, it means that b'makom she'ein ish, when there's other people not doing something that's needed to be done, hishtad aliyas ish. You should go ahead and try to be that person, to stand up, so to speak, and to take that burden on your shoulders, even though you feel that it's something that's beyond you, but nobody else is doing it. You have to be a soldier for God. You have to do that which you know you must. Listen to the way that the Degel reads this Maimar Chazal to change the way that you look at this forever. I'll read it to you outside. I'll tell it to you outside, and then we'll see it in person, in the text, mamish in person. B'makom she'ein ish. hishtadli is ish. People should try to be in a place where there's no other people. You understand? B'makim she'ein ish, the pashut pshat is, in a place where there's no people, hishtadli is ish. Try to be that person. Says the Degel Machaneh Ephraim. B'makom she'ein ish. It's specifically in a place where there's no people that you should try to find yourself. Hishtadli is ish. Try to find yourself always in a place that b'makom she'ein ish. Make your Yiddishkeit unique. Make your Yiddishkeit a personal adventure. Hishtadli is ish. You know where you should try to go ahead and to be an ish milchama, to fight your wars, to go ahead and to chart a path to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'makom she'ein ish. That's where hishtadli is ish. That's where you should try to do your avodah, specifically in a consciousness that there's nobody else but me. And how apropos this is to us, chevra, on lockdown, or certainly, if not on lockdown, then not where we would like to be. If it's in yeshiva with friends, or it's back at work, or in the normal, so to speak, that we spoke about. It's difficult, it's taxing. If we have children, it's taxing. If we don't have children, it's taxing. If we're married, it's hard. If we're not married, it's hard. Every single person in their situation, it's difficult, it's challenging. But here the Degel says in a certain way, it's possible to look at this b'tziruv, combining the first lesson that we learned from the Ishbitzer and the second lesson from the Degel Machaneh Ephraim, is that it's a lechatchila. Hishtadli is ish, b'makom she'ein ish. This is where we should try to be, so to speak. To look at ourselves as individuals. To look at ourselves not with this group identity. I'm a Jew because I was born into this firm community, and this is what we do on Sukkot, and this is what we do on Pesach, and we wrap on Tefillin in the morning, we wrap it off, and we wear tzitzis. None of that group think, none of that group identity. B'makom she'ein ish, hishtadli is ish. Yiddishkeit becomes real when we feel like it's a relationship that's unique to us. That I have an in with the Borei Olam. That I have an in with the Master of the world. That's what kedushas is about. That I could speak to him, pel peh, he's my best friend, and there's no one else there. And there's no one else to be choshesh from. There's nobody else to think about what this guy's thinking about me, or doing it because you want to impress somebody else. It's not about that. It's about my life, and it's about taking stock of the moment to become batel to the Ein Sof, to give my neshama what it knows it needs, not just so that in olam haba I'll get schar, but so that I can experience schar olam haba ba'olam hazeh, ashrecha ba'olam hazeh v'tov lach olam haba, to be able to experience the paradise of living in this world. To have the ultimate nachas from our marriages, from our children, to build houses that are full of kedusha, that are full of sweetness and holiness and meaning. It's not about the next world, it's about this world, chevra. This is where it's at. Mamish, to be able to draw the next world into this world by virtue of having this relationship that's on fire, that's with so much passion and with so much consciousness and with so much connectivity. That's what we're talking about here. So now that b'makom she'ein ish, hishtadli is ish, that's where you should try to be. Dafka, in a consciousness that's separate from what everybody else is doing, and from what everybody else is thinking, and from what everybody else is just going through the motions and by rote. So now we can tap back into the first teaching from the Ishbitzer, which taught us that we can then sanctify that makom, even if that makom is outside of Eretz Yisrael. Strange thing. I don't want to get political. We don't know what's going on with Ummah now this year. People are always screaming, how could you leave Eretz Yisrael? Mamela from America, they have the problem with you leaving your wife. They never have problems with people leaving their wives for a business trip for a week, but this they have a problem with, aside from getting into all of that. I don't want to be sarcastic. But with regard to Eretz Yisrael, that's a challenge for people. But b'tziruf, putting these two things together, even if all of Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael, if I feel that my Yiddishkeit is depending on this, b'makom she'ein ish, hishtadli is ish. I have to try to be in that place, dafko, where nobody else is. I'm not going to be bullied into thinking that what Rebbe Nachman said doesn't matter until it has a haskama from a gadol adar from 200 years later, right? We have to understand Rebbe Nachman was a gadol in his time. And Rebbe Nachman promised that this is what he wanted to come to his place. Not to be bullied into not doing what I know that I need to do. And Mamela, when that happens, Ummah becomes Eretz Yisrael. Rebbe Nachman already says that the tzaddikim yirshu aretz, the place where a tzaddik is buried is kadosh b'kedushas aretz. That's a separate thing. But the whole trip, people say, okay, when you're standing at the cave where it's Eretz Yisrael, you're standing there the whole Rosh Hashanah, you're traveling over Ukraine, all these places. You have to understand that with this Mei HaShiloach, with making my life, even the b'diavad from somebody else's perspective, and even from our perspective, b'makom she'ein ish, that becomes kadosh b'kedushas aretz. Every step that you take. even outside of physical Eretz Yisrael, becomes sanctified with the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Who told us Eretz Yisrael is holy? The Torah. And the Torah also told us to believe tzaddikim. And the tzaddikim are telling us that every place that a Jew makes a dwelling place for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his or her life, that place becomes holy with the kedushas ha'aretz. Who gave you the right to be machalik, what the Torah says here and what the Torah says here? It's kedushas ha'aretz. Period. That's what it is. And so, b'siyata d'shmai, we should be zocha to assess our situation. To go out from the group think, the group identity, the roboticism of today. What they call the orthopraxy, just going through the motions and the rote. But to realize that there's a princess that exists, that's accessible. It's really genuinely real. And we can tap into that spirit, each of us in our own way, but we have to yearn for it, and we have to think about it, and we have to make every effort to search for it and to seek it. And this is the place where she is found. In these teachings, in this consciousness, which is a whole different way of looking at Yiddishkeit, to go out from that road and to try to access the spirit of the princess, to sanctify all of our lives. The individuality and the uniqueness and the separateness from everybody else. To become a person that's tochel ratzuf, from the inside and from the outside, batal, so to speak, to the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not in a negative way that we feel burdens us, and it's an obligation, and it's a chore that we seek to break free from at the first opportunity, but it's the most beautiful, wonderful relationship. That we feel, that we reap the benefits from every moment. That every tefillah gives us life. Tefillah lekel chaya, like Rebbe Nachman says. That every time we open up a sefer, we have clarity. We're filled with purpose and meaning, and we can feel it. We can experience it, and we do experience it. We should be zocha to continue to experience it, to be mekadosh every makom of our lives, on every level that we're living with the kedushas ha'aretz. And b'siyata d'shmaya, with Hashem's help, we should be zocha to ultimately make it all the way at the end to Eretz Yisrael itself, to be able to come back to this place, to the Eretz Machaneh that we're yearning for, that we're longing for, to be able to make for HaKadosh Baruch Hu an Eretz Yisrael in our lives, surrounded by the actual kedushas ha'aretz. I bless that upon all of you. I bless it upon myself, and I bless it upon all of Am Yisrael with Hashem's help. So, Be'ezra Hashem, share these teachings, spread the word about the LPI, let your friends know, post it on your status, send it around. It's hafatza mamish. It's mamish, literally, you don't know whose life you can change. The messages that I'm getting from people saying, what is this? I never heard speakers like this. I never heard people talking like this. It's not just another Torah anytime, it's all wonderful. It's not just another little snippets from powerful speakers. There's a ruach acheres here. There's something else. It's a different consciousness. And so we owe it to everyone around us to go ahead and to tell them that there's an opening, that there's an access point, that I believe is something so unique, b'siyata d'shmaya, and we should continue to grow together, b'siyata d'shmaya. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I love you all, mamish. Thank you so much for tuning in and for joining me in this learning session. Wishing you the most beautiful, beautiful Shabbos. Thank you so much, Chevra.